There are two versions of you living quietly in the background right now. One of them is 10 or 20 years older, sitting at a kitchen table that looks almost the same as yours does today. Same city, same type of house, same coffee. The only difference is how money feels in their body. In one version, money is a constant low-grade pressure, not panic, just a permanent hum of be careful. In the other version, money is boring, neutral, almost invisible. What's unsettling is that the difference between those two futures isn't income, intelligence, or even discipline. It comes down to one habit most people never question, and the wealthiest people quietly refuse to participate in. My name is Alex. I'm someone who spent years obsessed with invisible financial rules, the ones nobody teaches you because they don't sound impressive. And if you want more calm, analytical videos like this, you can subscribe at any point. No pressure. Let's get into it. If you do this one thing with your money, you're basically throwing it away. And what's uncomfortable is that it feels responsible when you're doing it. It feels smart. It feels like you're being involved. The richest people don't do it, not because they can't, but because they understand something most beginner investors don't. Let's ground this in a normal life. You're earning an after-tax income somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 or euros a month. Rent or a mortgage takes a chunk, a car payment or lease is there, even if it's not flashy, utilities, food, insurance, maybe student loans. You're not reckless, you're careful. At the end of the month, if things go well, you might have a few hundred left, sometimes more, sometimes less. And because you're responsible, you don't want that money to sit there doing nothing. So you move it, you adjust it, you optimize it, you shift between funds, you chase slightly higher returns, you react to news, you feel a subtle itch when your money isn't being actively worked. This is the habit, constantly trying to improve money that is already working. High net worth individuals, the ones who stay wealthy across decades, don't do this. They don't tinker, they don't chase, they don't feel the need to constantly justify their intelligence by touching their money. And that sounds almost lazy until you run the math. Let's say you're investing $500 a month, nothing extreme. You move things around a few times a year, you sell one position because it feels risky, you buy another because it sounds smarter. Each decision seems small, a bit of tax drag here, a missed rebound there, some underperformance while you're waiting for clarity. You don't lose money dramatically, you just lose efficiency. If that costs you even 1% a year in long-term return, it doesn't feel like anything. 1% feels polite. Over 30 years, that 1% doesn't take 1% of your money. It takes hundreds of thousands. Quietly. No headline, no warning, just a different ending. Most people think wealthy individuals win by finding better investments. In reality, they win by refusing to make unnecessary decisions. They understand that money compounds best when it's left alone, not unmanaged, just undisturbed. The psychology here matters. Smart people are especially vulnerable to this trap. If you're analytical, if you read, if you understand markets even a little, it's uncomfortable to admit that doing less often leads to more. Your brain wants participation, it wants control, it feels useful. Doing nothing feels like negligence, even when it's mathematically optimal. There's also social pressure. Friends talk about what they're buying, headlines talk about what's hot. Financial media exists to keep you engaged, not wealthy. Movement feels like progress. Stillness feels like risk. So people accept a lifetime of micro mistakes in exchange for emotional relief. If nothing changes, the long-term consequence isn't disaster. That's the unsettling part. You still live a normal life. You still retire, just later or tighter. You still have savings, just less margin. You still feel okay, but never relaxed. Money remains something you manage instead of something that supports you. That's the version of the future where money is always present in your thoughts. Financially intelligent people think differently, not in tactics, but in posture. They see money as a system, not a project. Once a system works, interference becomes a liability. They don't ask, how can I make this better right now? They ask, what would cause me to mess this up? And then they design their behavior to avoid that. They accept that boredom is a feature, not a flaw, that the absence of activity often means things are going well, that their time, attention, and emotional energy are more valuable than squeezing out tiny improvements that statistically won't matter. This doesn't mean ignoring your finances. It means respecting them enough to not constantly touch them. It means understanding that the biggest enemy of compounding isn't ignorance, it's impatience disguised as responsibility. So when you think about your future selves, the difference isn't who found the better stock or the smarter strategy. It's who learned when to stop interfering. One version of you keeps adjusting, reacting, improving. The other builds a simple structure and lets time do the heavy lifting. If this reframing helped you see your money a little more clearly, you can like the video or subscribe, not because you need more advice, but because sometimes the most valuable insight is learning what not to do.